Today, we're just going to talk about all things hardware. We sell a lot of hardware, and we get a lot of customer questions about it, and so we're just going to dive in. We'll just do a kind of a shotgun blast talking through everything that we sell in terms of hardware, what's the purpose of it, who is it best serve, and answer any questions that you guys might have about it. So you guys are pretty familiar with the T-nuts. I think at this point we all have a fairly good understanding the difference between the 4-prong, the 3-hole, the 2-hole commercial, and the industrial T-nut. But real quickly, let's just do a quick quiz. Brendan, what's the purpose of the 4-prong? Who does it best serve?
It serves best people who are making a home woody that just want the cheapest option, and they have access to the back of their wall, so if a 4-prong does pop out, they can put a new one in.
Cool. Rita, who wants a 3-hole?
Probably also someone with a home woody, and you don't really have access to the back wall, so you don't want anything popping out.
Yeah. Something I'll add to that too is how frequently you're setting. If you're setting a lot on your T-nuts, then the 4-prong over time is going to be more likely to pop out. If you're going to be setting like really frequently, the 3-hole is going to be great because it's going to withstand that and be less likely to pop out. So good. Sam, what do you got for the 2-hole commercial? And so you don't work up here with these very often, so let me grab one. What's the difference between the 2-hole commercial and the 3-hole?
I don't know. One's a little longer, so maybe that would help.
Yeah. So it has a longer barrel than the 3-hole, and the reason for that is on commercial grade plywood, it's pretty thick, right? And so you can see the 3-hole T-nut is a little bit more recessed in there, whereas this is the industrial T-nut in the back here. It's the same barrel length as the 2-hole, so it sits more flush against the plywood, which is good because if you're trying to put a bolt in there and you're hitting the edge of the wood, you can get flakes and junk inside of there. So having it flush is nice. It also gives you more strength because it gives you access to more threads, and thread count is pretty much everything when it comes to T-nut strength. So good. All right, Chris, this is the moment that you've been waiting for your entire life.
Yes!
Yeah. I saw mom's spaghetti on your shirt earlier.
Yeah. I was preparing.
Tell me about the industrial T-nut.
So the industrial T-nut is the top of the line as far as we're concerned. It has the same length barrel as the 2-hole, but it has fewer threads up here, so it has a self-guiding barrel, which makes it a lot less likely that you're going to strip either the T-nut or your bolts, and it makes it a lot easier to just, if you're using an impact, to get it in there quicker. The flange is wider, so you have a little bit more stability, and we only have 2 screw holes, so that saves some time, in comparison to the 3-hole in installation. And also, you're not going to have to replace them probably ever if you treat them correctly, and although they're the most expensive, they're probably the best bang.
Yeah, great answer. That's a good answer for a guy that doesn't even work with the hardware. So, good job. Well, actually, you do. He works a lot with the hardware, actually. You put a lot of the industrial T-nuts into the back of the volumes. So that's another application. We put them into all our volumes because we want them to be as good as possible. So we don't put the 4-prong or the 3-hole. We put our own T-nut in there. There's another piece of hardware that we put into, good. So that was good on T-nuts, guys. There's another piece of hardware that we put into our volumes. Marta, which one is it?
Gee, I wonder if it's the volume insert.
Which one is it, though? It's in that pile somewhere. You're good. I would hope so. You work with me. Okay. So this is the volume screw insert. We released this about this time last year, a little bit early, like maybe February or so.
CWA.
Yeah, it would have been March actually, and then the Lonestar came out in May-ish. So yeah. And so this is the Lonestar, this is the volume screw insert. You've heard us talk a bunch about the Lonestar, probably less so in these meetings about the volume screw insert. So tell me, Brendan, why is the volume screw insert awesome?
It extends the life of volumes pretty dramatically, because if you've ever put a volume into a wall, you notice that you're chewing up the wood while the volume wood screw insert will stop you from hitting the wood and makes it stay nice and secure.
Yeah. So the whole idea with this, the volume screw insert, that's these pieces of inserts on the edges, right? And so the idea is on older volumes, and there's still some manufacturers out there that produce their volumes without any kind of washer or insert, and so it's just screw on wood, which is problematic because over time you put the hold on and off the wall, the screw chews up the wood, and if you're setting a lot really frequently, or the gym is starting to get older, those screws start to pop right through the wood. So it's a real structural integrity issue. So we put the volume screw insert into ours, which then protects the wood. It gives the screw a nice little home to sit inside of, protects it, makes it last really long. There's two other great things about the volume screw insert. So we put ours in at the beginning of the process, but you can also add them at any point. So if you have an old volume that you want to retrofit with the volume screw insert, we sell the installation kit. Ryan, we've done a bunch of videos on how to do it. It's really quick and easy, but it's a really cool way of just adding more life to volumes, which, how much does the volume cost? Do you know?
How much does a volume cost?
Yeah. How much does a flat cost? You know?
How much does a flat cost? Somewhere between $110 and $130.
I think the flat's actually twice that.
Is it?
Yeah. Yeah, I think it's like 200, isn't it, retail?
In general, volume, a smaller one, you're gonna be in the $50 range, and you can easily be pushing up into the three. Like on the crazy volumes like that, we don't even make, like, you're looking at like $400
Yeah.
on some of those.
So it's a big investment for gyms. If you want 50 volumes, that's going to cost close to $10,000, right? So that's a big investment, and if you're wearing through them really quickly with screws, then it's a real bummer. So the volume screw insert's a really cool little thing. We've also seen, and we did a video on this recently, where people were doing the same thing with their holds. And so the idea is, if you wanted to bolt this hold onto the wall, you could use the Lonestar in the bolt hole, right? Which is nice because it's designed to sit flush so your thumb doesn't catch in there. But one screw is never enough to affix a hole to the wall because the screw can kind of wiggle, it can come out, and it's not very strong. So you always want at least 2, 3, 4 screws in there. So what people will do, let's say, most holds, they'll come with a set screw hold like that. So now I have 2 holds, 2 points of attachment. So this hold is probably going to be really secure. But on bigger holds, it's not so secure. You're going to need more. And so what you can do is you can add set screw holes. You drill into the plastic, and then you can just put the screw straight through that. Problem with that is the same problem that you have with the volumes. Over time, it chews up the plastic, it just wears out. And so that hold isn't protected over the long haul. So what you can do is the same thing you do with the volume. You drill into it, and then you set the volume screw insert, and you hammer it into there. And now you have a metal collar, we'll say, to protect the plastic, which is really cool. It wasn't something that was intended when the volume screw insert was first created. It was a really cool example of how the community just conjured up some alternative uses that is something we just never could have considered. So really cool application. Who made a mess here? Okay, so what's another difference between the Lonestar and the volume screw insert? Because they look really similar.
In terms of like application or just?
Yeah, just kind of name some of the features of them, right? Because theoretically, they both hold a screw, right? So can I use a volume screw insert in a hold instead of using the Lonestar?
You could, but it would be really.
You could.
You could, but it's not gonna be as secure.
Wasn't designed for that.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So a couple of things with this one is if you do the volume screw insert and use it as you would the Lonestar, it doesn't sit flush in there, and so it wiggles around, has more movement, more likely to come off the wall. It also doesn't sit flush with the bolt hole, so my thumb can actually go inside the hold now, and I can use that as a hold. And for strong climbers, that's a really big advantage, whereas the Lonestar is going to sit flush inside there. So my thumb doesn't do that, it wiggles less. One other feature, slight difference that I'll just note of the volume screw insert is it has these little ribs on the side. Those are the pressure fitting, and so it's designed to be hammered in and then hold steady once it's in there. The Lonestar does not do that. You don't want to hammer this into anything, that'd be silly. So, how How much does the Lonestar retail? You're the accountant.
I have no idea.
$21.99 for a 50 pack.
Is that right?
That's about right, yeah.
Sounds about right. I think it's about 25 to 30 cents per, depending wholesale, retail, it's moving target. But 25 to 30 cents. Are we the only ones that make a Lonestar equivalent? No. There's 2 other companies in the world that we know of that make a similar product. One is in Germany, I believe, and one's in Japan. So they're fairly similar. The big difference is in price. Ours is about 25, 30 cents. I believe the nearest competitor is like over $1 each. So for one, it's quite a bit more inexpensive. And that's one of the advantages of doing hardware in the way that we do. We're able to control a lot of the prices because we do it in such large scale. We have good relationships with our suppliers, and so we can get these prices way, way down and make it something that's not just a luxury, nice-to-have item, but something that Routesetters can actually afford to have. So that's the Lonestar. The volume screw insert, I actually have no idea how much they are. I think they're less. They've got to be less. You know?
It's 11 cents wholesale.
11 cents wholesale? Okay, so probably like 15, 16 cents retail. Yeah, so that's another great way. And if you think about that from an investment standpoint, for like 10 bucks, you can get a bunch of volume screw inserts and protect your $300 volumes and add more life. So it's one of those things that kind of pays for itself real quick. Okay, we need to talk about screws. Let's talk about, what? You want to talk about bits? Oh. Okay, so let's talk about bits. I have a bunch of bits here. What bit is this?
3-inch 5/16.
3-inch 5/16. What's this for? Bolts? What kind of bolts? Socket heads. So it fits the socket head. This is your primary bolt that 90% of holds are going on the wall with. So when somebody says, I need a bit and some bolts, this is typically the combination that they're talking about for a hold. Okay, what is this bit?
3-inch 7/32.
3-inch 7/32. Which bolt is this for? The one I grabbed. I'll save you the show. Yeah. So this, what kind of bolt is this?
Martini head.
Martini head. Flathead. In the Routesetter community, we call it the Martini head. These used to be a lot more popular. These days, Routesetters and gyms have, most of them that I know, just go through and they eliminate all the Martini heads that they have in their gym, and they get rid of the holds that require it. And so you would use this on a hold that has no washer inside of it. It's getting less and less common for that to be a thing. You could not put a Martini head into this particular hold, let's say. It's designed for a socket head, and so the Martini actually sits up, and that would be bad. So, can you use, what was I going to ask? I lost my train of thought. Edit that out. He's not going to edit that out. Okay, so what's the difference between the 3-inch and the 2-inch 5/16? 1 inch. Super easy. Why would I go for the 2-inch versus the 3-inch?
They're a little cheaper,
A
frankly.
little bit cheaper.
Depends on the holes you're using them on, right?
Mm-hmm. Could, yeah.
A lot of it's preference. This one has a lifetime warranty, and this one doesn't. The 2-inch does not. This is becoming less of a need, the 3-inch. Back in the day, I used to set at Vertical Endeavors, and some of those bolts were recessed and they hold like 2-3 inches. Like you couldn't get
A 2-inch.
this, like you couldn't actually get it in because the head was so far recessed.
What he's talking about there is, right now, when you put a bolt in here, this is a bolt, it sits nice and flush against the lip. But back in the day, it wasn't always like that. Sometimes that bolt head would be like here. And so the bolt would literally drop in until it hits, and if your bit wasn't long enough, you couldn't actually get it on the wall with the drill. So the long bit was nice. The long bit is a preference. We have a lifetime guarantee on the 3-inch, which is really nice. Most setters, if given the choice, will go for the 3-inch regardless because it gives them 1 inch of more reach. So if you imagine you're dangling from a rope in a roof and you're reaching desperately like cliffhanger or slash Stallone, like that 1 inch can make all the difference from having to do a crunch from here to here, and over the course of a 8-hour day of setting, 5 days a week, like it really adds up. So you want to make everything as easy as possible. Noah takes it to an extreme, and he uses like a ridiculously long bit. The downside of that is it's dangerous, right? It's like this big sword of a bit. So, those are,
Question of those.
what's up?
So we have a lifetime warranty, so it's not necessarily an issue if they break, but is the 2-inch less likely to break than the 3-inch?
I don't think so. This is the thing with bits, is that they are not designed for the application which we're currently using them. Like, they're not designed to be used with an impact driver every single day, like driving holds in. And so the bit is going to break. It's just a matter of time. And so the lifetime warranty on the 3-inch is a really good thing because you're protected from that guaranteed eventuality. I don't think it's any more likely that a 2-inch is going to break versus a 3-inch. You can protect your bit. I've actually never personally broken a bit, but that's because I don't drive my holds home. I like put them in until there's enough tension, and then I use a wrench to tighten them the rest of the way. And so if you're doing that, you'll never actually break a bit. But it's more tedious because you have to use a wrench. But I like the tactile feedback of tightening a hold with a wrench, because then I know it's on there.
Okay.
That was a good question. What is this bit?
T25.
T25. And what's a T25 do?
It's in set screws.
Set screws. So, for screws. Yep. Okay, so every route setter needs to have 2 bits with them at every time when they're on the wall setting, because most holds these days need to have a set screw inserted into it. Even if you put a bolt in there, a lot of gyms still want you to put a set screw. If it's a bigger, longer hold, then it's guaranteed you're going to want a set screw to avoid it from spinning. So if I have a really big, long hold, let's see, maybe the Legacy Moon. This is a perfect example. If I put this on the wall, and I only have 1 point of attachment with a bolt, and the climber steps here, it's going to possibly spin that way over time. So if somebody steps on it, it's going to loosen, and so this 1 point isn't enough. You have to have a set screw in there. So we have set screws here, here, and here. By putting that in there, it guarantees that that hold won't spin. So a setter's going to need to have 2 bits with them. They're going to have one for their socket head, possibly one for their martini if they're using those 2, so they might need 3 bits, and then one for the T25 for the set screw. And this is a real pain in the butt when you're a setter, because every time you have to change your bit, you run, it's a time waste. If we look at it from a downtime standpoint, it's wasted motion. But 2, Brendan, what's the most annoying thing that can happen to you when you're 30 feet off the ground with a 50-pound hold over your head and you're trying to put it on the wall?
You drop your bit.
You drop your bit. There's nothing more frustrating than dropping your bit, because then somebody's got to either throw it up to you if you're old school, or you got to go to the ground and get it and come back up, in which case you still run the risk of dropping it again. So Sendgineering is a local company. They're from Madison, Wisconsin. I think he's Madison. He's a grad student. He designed something that is both a 5/16 bit with a T25 inserted into the center barrel. And it's a really cool idea, because what it allows you to do is to both put a socket head on and then immediately transfer and put a T25 on without ever having to change your bits. It's something that we're working on. Well, maybe you want to talk about that a little bit more, actually. You know more.
Yeah, we have a lot of good relationships with our manufacturers, like as we're importing and sourcing this hardware. And so we're working right now with Sendgineering to manufacture that bit for him. And so we're looking at doing a run right now, and we'll be bringing that in here spring of 2019.
Mm-hmm. And that bit's really, really popular within the setting community, because it does allow you, like, it's just such a time saver. It's really nice to have. There's a couple downsides with it, though. Rita, what's one downside of the Sendgineering bit?
It breaks more easily?
It breaks more easily, yeah. Because of the way that it's created, specifically the way that it's created currently. I don't know if we'll have the same issues once we are going specifically through our manufacturing process, but it does make it makes it a little bit more brittle. It weakens the metal. so there's a quicker lifespan on it, and there's no lifetime warranty on it. So from a bit perspective, you're going to be spending more money, but there's also the time savings and the frustration savings, so it's kind of a moving target there. What's another downside of this engineering bit currently? I'll be surprised if you know this one, actually.
Maybe that you can't get it quite flush to the inside of either the bolt or the screw that you're putting on.
Yeah, that's actually a really good one.
I mean, I've never seen the
throw
bit,
that.
so I'm
Yeah,
not
we'll
saying
throw
that.
that. We'll throw that into the third category. Actually, I've had that issue too. Because yeah, you're dead on. Because the 730. I'm sorry. Is it 730? No, the T25. Because the T25 sticks out a bit, you don't get a perfect flush fit between either the 5/16 or the T25, and so you're getting it into the bolt, but it's never quite deep enough to feel like super secure, and so you do run the risk of stripping bolts a little bit easier. You can, it's annoying to like get it lined up just right. So that's a good one. That wasn't what I was thinking, but I think really the only people who might have any reasonable chance at this one is Marta, Rita, Brendan, Karen, or Ryan. So Sam, go ahead, try.
Oh, yeah, I have no idea.
Are they hard to get right now? Like, does he make
That's a
them?
good question. That's a good one. You're close. Are they hard to
They
get?
can't really make them like that because they're breaking.
No, that's not why they can't make them.
Oh, okay.
I was gonna go with they're expensive.
They are expensive. We'll put that one.
More
They're a little bit more expensive. No,
They change.
it's a combination of yours and yours.
Is it because they changed the 5/16 that they can't make them?
Yeah. So the bit that he was using, and he had everything spec'd out for, they changed the specs on it slightly. And so as he was refitting the system, it doesn't quite work with how he did it. And so he ran out of production. And so you actually physically, we were the last ones, we just sold out. You can't get any more right now. And you probably won't be able to get them until we resume manufacturing of them.
We're
sometime this
about
spring.
11 weeks out.
11 weeks out. So it's a supply and demand thing. There's a lot of demand for it, but there are currently none of them out there. So that's why, that's one of the big downsides of that bit. You guys didn't miss anything. It's totally cool. Nothing. What were you just, these just magically appeared on the screen.
Yeah, I was gonna talk about screws.
Okay. Let's finish up with the bolts first. So we have two types of bolts here.
Stainless steel?
And
I was going
alloy.
to ask somebody. Okay, stainless steel and alloy. Yeah, I did pause one time. Sorry. Okay, so what's the difference?
Metals are different.
Okay.
One's better for outdoor.
Which one's better for outdoor?
Stainless steel. For
In what
rust-
conditions?
rust purpose.
Any moisture condition?
Any moisture condition. So in the Sahara Desert, it doesn't matter.
Gotcha.
In Florida, stainless steel.
Gotcha.
Okay, so if it's really hot, really humid, really moist, really rainy or snowy, stainless steel is going to be the better option. But for most people, the alloy is going to be better. And the thing with the stainless steel is it still can rust. Like out there in really gnarly conditions, we still see it rusting. So one of the big mistakes we see people making is they'll order a stainless steel bolt and stainless steel T-nut together thinking, hey, double stainless steel, that's going to be super water resistant. I'm going to never rust. But what's the problem with that? Galling. God, it galls me.
Golly gee.
Galling cheese. So yeah, if you put a stainless steel bolt into a stainless steel T-nut, you get what's called galling. And so it's like a cold welding science that happens, that actually strips and makes it more likely that it's going to stain or rust over time. So if you're in a high humidity area, pick one, pick the bolt or pick the T-nut, but don't pick both. What is this bad boy?
Fully threaded.
Fully threaded what?
3.5.
Yeah, it's a fully threaded bolt. Why is a fully threaded bolt like the best thing? Like I've seen wrestling matches break out on route-setting crews over fully threaded bolts. Like no joke. I've been involved in
Doesn't
them.
matter how long, it's so versatile, you can use it in lots of different forms. It doesn't
Yeah,
matter. You
you're
don't have to-
guaranteed. You can get this onto anything. And so one of the issues, let's say I have a longer bolt and I have a smaller hold. Can I get this onto the wall right now?
No, I don't know.
Maybe.
If
You'd
your
be taking
T-nut's
a
really
chance.
recessed,
If the
Yeah.
T-nut's recessed, maybe.
just so there's a 1/4 inch of no thread there.
So if it's like a 4-prong, like in this instance, we have a little bit of recess, you might be able to get that onto the wall. If it's sitting flush, no chance. If it's an old concrete wall, where there's a lot of material there, you maybe could get it on there. But for the most part, if you can see any neck, you're probably not gonna be able to get it onto the wall. And it makes sense because you can only thread it up to that point, and then you're gonna have a little bit of wiggle there. So for a hold like this, you would actually need a smaller bolt. But if you're at the end of your day and you reach into your bag and you don't have that bolt, you don't want to go to the ground, you don't want somebody to throw it up to you. But if you happen to have a fully threaded bolt, you can pop that bad boy in there and you can get that on. I wouldn't recommend it. This is a waste of a 4-inch fully threaded bolt. But if you were to take this to the extreme, if you have big holes that you want to get on the wall, you don't want to be fiddling and trying to find the exact
Here,
right bolt.
let's try it. All right, so this is gonna take a longer bolt. Sam, try to grab the right size bolt.
Try and guess it.
You might have got it.
You might have gotten it. Got it in one. So that'll work.
That's a 4.5 inch.
Mm-hmm. So
But if you grab the 4-inch or the 5.5, it might not have worked.
the 4 would have worked, the 5.5 wouldn't. You had a lot of thread there to work with.
Okay.
But the thing is, you have a limited range. You have to guess really accurately, and some people are really good at it, and some people are really bad at it. And it's really frustrating to keep having to like reach in, grab a bolt, reach back into your bag, grab a different bolt, realize, oh, I grabbed the same bolt again, put it back in the bag, grab a different bolt. Crap, I did it again. I only have that one bolt. I don't know why I keep doing this. So the fully threaded bolt guarantees I'm going to be able to get it on the wall, which is nice when you're in a pinch, you're, again, dangling from the roof in a situation where you don't want to deal with it, or if you just don't want to have to go digging into the bolt bucket. The fully threaded is really nice. The downside is the fully threaded bolt is more expensive. Because it's more expensive, gyms usually don't carry a really robust selection of them, which means you're usually having to fight your resetting cohort for that bolt.